Being a marketer's no sweat. You just have to manage dozens of channels, launch hundreds of campaigns, score thousands of leads, and okay, fine, it's a lot of sweat. Unless you have HubSpot's AI-powered marketing tools to help you do all that and more. Get started at HubSpot.com/marketers.
This is a Rogue Media Network podcast.
BooBaes.
BooBaes.
BooBaes, that's right. We're your hosts. I'm Caitlin.
And I'm Joshua.
And today we are here to talk to you about a listener request from Chantal. I asked her how to pronounce her name.
Chantal.
It is Chantal.
Chantal. Beautiful name.
Yes.
And her request was
Terrifier. Which was really well timing that we decided to do this because Terrifier 3 is coming out.
Yeah, it's literally out. It just came out this past weekend.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, oh, because I was talking with someone and they were like, oh, you know, Terrifier 3 is coming out. And I was like, how did you know we were about to cover Terrifier? And they were like,
happy coincidence.
Yeah. And I was like, what? And then because I had never watched this franchise, this little series.
Same.
But yeah, so apparently the third one's coming out. I'd be interested in watching it. Mm-hmm. Spoiler alert, I liked this film pretty good amount.
It was pretty good. Yeah, I actually was scared.
There were a few times where I was like, no. But before we get too far into it, I do have a Lake Mungo update from one of our listeners, and it's from Emma. Mm-hmm. And she was talking about how, like, it benefited her going into, like, we both went into Lake Mungo blind.
Yeah.
And I think maybe because of that, like, underappreciated it a little bit. Mm-hmm. And she was like, I think if you, like, actually know some stuff about it a little bit before and, like, read some of the reviews and, like, go through it, it gives you a little bit more of some insight that just maybe would have been helpful. So for those of you who haven't maybe listened to our Lake Mungo episode or have but wanted maybe an additional thought point, I just figured I would read Emma's message. So she said, just listened to the Lake Mungo episode and had thoughts. I actually think I benefited from learning about the movie a bit before watching it. She says, I don't know if it's fair to say you guys were underwhelmed, but I know I would have been even as a slow burn mockumentary lover. But I read before watching it a bunch of reviews that indicated that the movie was more of an allegory for grief, and approaching it from the perspective helped me be less expectant of scary ghost stuff. So, and she says, I'm not usually a fan of that kind of movie. I'd rather it just be ghosts, but it worked for me with this film, the kind of ghost of loss and trying to let go, but being afraid to leave that person behind, or like how sad it is to think of that person being left, being like Alice was in her dream at the end of the movie. And she goes on to say, I also identified with Alice and her sort of secret self-existence, not really letting anyone fully see or know her because I lean that way myself. And she said, not that I'm having inappropriate relationships with neighbors, but identifying with that feeling of protecting yourself by not letting anyone in. It's a little freaky to think about what could get left behind in that way. She said, I don't know, it weirdly worked and I got the hype, but I still totally understand people who don't like it. It's not scary in a traditional sense, but I found it haunting and really sad. And she said, I totally agree with you, though. I was convinced the dad had something to do with it at the beginning. And I was like, well, that's a beautiful takeaway that I definitely didn't think about.
Yeah, there's a lot more layers there. And it seems that Emma took more of like a really deep personal note from it, like, you know, like has that, and glad she gave us that insight so that way we can now also to like have that in our thought process of exploring how we process the movie. And yeah, it definitely, when you explain it that way, it is more of an allegory for grief and kind of like just more personificating that onto a movie so we can see it transpire in this weird story, but really every family goes through their own versions of what that grief and letting go and how they do or do not. So thank you, Emma. Mm-hmm.
And I think it definitely explored like the different types of grieving in the film, like with the dad not letting on as much and stuff.
And then the mom, and then the
brother
son.
taking, his odd approach worked approach to getting the body exhumed. But yeah, it just, looking at it from that lens, it makes it, I can understand and appreciate the movie a lot more than, say, like when I was expecting it to be like really life-changing, profound, scary kind of thing.
That is, I guess, the most scariest thing. The loss of the people you love.
That is the most terrifying. Yeah. And also what is the most terrifying is Art the Clown from Terrifier.
Jesus Christ, is he terrifying.
Yeah.
Just his presence, and just like when he sits there and he's smiling and doing
the fact that he never talked.
Yeah, that adds
made
to it.
Even so much more scary.
Even through the murders, and not even like at the end.
Even when he gets stabbed and stuff, he's like ah.
Yeah.
But there's no that comes out.
Maybe he's mute.
Yeah, I did think about that.
That could be a thing, but I don't know. Probably not. It seems like he's
very mimey situation.
Yeah, it just seems like he's just super like dedicated to the bit.
Yeah.
Like, to the. But yeah, this movie came out in 2016.
Yes.
And it is. It's kind of like an underground, it was an underground, what is that? Is that underground? What is it called? It's
underground horror.
Yeah. It's worked its way up to now being so mainstream, but it really started,
whenever
as an indie
it first
film.
came out. Yeah. Just not as well known.
Yeah. Little budget. Like it's literally like you can watch the movie, you can tell that it's, not the biggest budget in Hollywood, but like the lengths that it's come to now that we have Terrifier 3 and Art the Clown is now becoming kind of a staple, and like he's joining the ranks of all the other mass murdering, killing people, slashers. Yeah, Michael Myers.
He definitely had some Michael tendencies.
Yeah, definitely.
Whenever he was like displaying Tara's body, and whenever the curtain was up behind for Dawn, I was like, oh, I hope Dawn's corpse is behind there. I was not expecting it to go into what it went into.
Yeah, I wasn't either.
That was like at first I was like, no.
This movie,
and then he was like, yes.
This movie,
and I was like, oh my god,
I had no problem going there. A lot of the times when I thought like, oh, they're not going to, or like in times where I have this feeling in other horror movies where like you really want them to like go big or go home, and then they don't, or they choose kind of a more like they pan the camera away or anything. No, like this movie just shows you what's going on, and also is just like not holding back the level of kind of sadistic kind of
masochism,
torturism. He's torturing them and killing them at the same time, and really enjoying it and getting a kick out of it.
Yeah, he definitely had some fun with it. And
it was written and directed by Damien Leone.
Yes, starring David Howard Thornton as Art the Clown. We've got Jane Cannell. Cannell. I would say Cannell. Samantha Scafidi. That's probably not how you say it. Scafidi.
We're just butchering all of them.
And then Catherine Corcoran.
Corcoran. It's Corcoran. All right, I don't know.
Scafidi.
But
I like that.
Scafidi is a good one. That's I like on the back of a Letterman, or like Scafidi's cakes. Scafidi's like anything.
Scafidi's confectionery.
I'd go there.
Yeah.
Emporitorium. That's not even a word.
I don't know.
It should be. Emporitorium? Like welcome to the Emporitorium.
Of the Horror Emporitorium.
Welcome to Dugdale Dimmadome, Dumdale Dimmadome, home of the Dale Dimmadome. What is it's giving
we got
that.
Mattresses.
So
and more.
We are basically just following a night on
Halloween night.
Yeah, Halloween spree. A killing spree on Halloween night by Art the Clown. And we start the movie with this really cool little TV, and it's showing a clip of. Basically, we're starting with the end at the beginning kind of situation. We have this opener of a sole survivor of the Miles County massacre that happened a year ago. And what is it called? The interviewer is talking to the interviewee, and she's like asking her questions about like, you know, her appearance because she was left disfigured. And it like does this thing where it like it doesn't show you because it's like, the
TV's going in and out of a I almost said scaffidi.
Scaffidi. It's interchangeable.
The TV's going in and out of static.
Yeah.
Staticky, and coming into focus. It's like a TV with rabbit ears on the top. So it's definitely not getting the clearest signal. And so it's definitely going back in between. And then you get a slight glimpse of her face. Yeah. And you can tell that, you know, she's been through something heavily traumatic. Yeah.
And she's, you know, saying how children are afraid of her and it's really hard to deal with. And the interview is not really long at all. And then because we see that someone is getting ready in the background over here. And who is it? It's Art the Clown.
And they had just said, he's dead. And then the interviewer was like, but his body disappeared from the coroner's office. And she was like, he's dead. I saw it happen. Yeah. And
did she say, I wish I was dead?
At one point, she does say that she wishes she was dead. Yes. And then, and all the while, we're getting this really ominous music with the credits and everything. And I personally loved the music throughout the entire movie. The score, I thought it was really well timed. I thought it was a good, like, original theme. It was written all by Paul Wiley, and it was phenomenal in my opinion. I really enjoyed the score of this movie. Everywhere it just led you to really good moments, and it emphasized everything that was happening on screen in a good way. So shout out Paul. You did a great job.
And we're with Art as we're figuring out, he's very much not dead. Yeah. And he's getting his clown makeup on and everything ready, geared up, because it's Halloween night.
Yep, and him getting all his little killing supplies and a little montage of him getting ready, painting his face on. You know, he's just a girl.
Just like us.
Just getting ready. Got to put on his little makeups. And
getting ready to paint the town red.
Yes, literally.
Yes.
I wonder if Terrifier 2 shows you what happens after he gets ready. Because,
like in between?
Yeah, because,
in between him getting to the girls and...
Well, but this was a year ago. We basically went back a year, because if we were watching...
You're right. He's getting ready for to go out round 2, in whatever Terrifier 2.
So I'm wondering I think that's what
continue.
Terrifier 2
I'm pretty sure they're continuations.
Yeah.
And so
we're with
the interviewee.
Yeah, lady. She's really fucking mean.
She's really mean. She's talking really horrible crap about basically just like
Vic
talking really bad about her disfigurement and but also being like she's using her for views and stuff essentially.
Yeah.
And for ratings. And then
she had it coming.
Not long, she starts to hear some noises from around in the room, and she tries to explore behind her. And we're thinking it's gonna be like Art the Clown or something, right? But no, it's Vic comes from around and just starts mauling her and puts her eyes. This is my favorite part. Puts her hands in her eyes and starts gouging her out.
Yep, and rips her little face skin off. And at this point, Andrew watched this with me this morning, and he was like,
"Yikes,
this movie's dumb." And he was like, "There's no way." And I was like, maybe she had really
bad and then
sharp fingernails. Yeah, because her skin was jagged. It had ripped off chunks of her skin.
Oh yeah, and then she had the one eye right there. Yeah, and it was
and I was like, maybe she had really sharp nails.
She also
just
had
let
rage.
It happen.
She had rage. Rage does a lot. And
Spine on my rage.
She ends up getting her revenge on this lady who's talking shit. And then that's whenever we get a title card after she starts doing this little like laugh, little ha 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 ha.
Little giggle.
You know, maybe in the second one she's like side villain, like she goes on her own killing spree.
Yeah.
Side plot type of situation.
Maybe she is going and trying to get revenge.
Mm-hmm. And so then
that'd be fun. The title card was nice and simple with good music. Again, I liked it.
2 for oh.
Yeah,
there
and we're
go.
only like 5 minutes into this film, and I've mentioned the music twice. I really liked it from out the gate.
Really liked it. What did you like? What was it?
The music?
The music. And so 2 girls are walking on the sidewalk, and we are with Tara and Dawn.
2 drunk girls.
Yeah, at that. And they're coming from a Halloween party, of course. They're having, we've all, they're talking about, oh, did you give your number to that guy and this and that? And, and then that's whenever they are getting to the car. Miss Dawn is heavily drunk. And then Tara's like
junkie drunk, but like not drive the car.
Oh yeah.
Which I was like, oh no,
please. And Tara gets the keys and is like, you know what? Actually, I think we might need to get some food or something before we start driving. But before they can walk off to go get the food, because Dawn is like, hold up, give me a minute. I need to just like stand here on the car for a second. We see Art across the street. Tara does immediately, and then she's like, look at that. And then Dawn just like, as always, as we get to find out, Dawn's character is kind of an asshole.
Yeah.
And she's just yelling at him from across the street to like go over there.
My friend wants your number.
And to give them a ride. And he's just like looking at them creepily. And Tara, from the jump is already getting bad vibes, as she should. And so she's like, can we just get out of here? But she looks back up and he's gone.
Yes.
And so we're like,
completely disappears.
Where the heck did he go? And then they get to go to what's it called?
They're going to a pizzeria.
Dell's. It gets mentioned at
Deer
least
Hills
3 other times.
Pizzeria or something like that.
I should have written it down.
Yeah, but they go to this pizzeria and they're, just waiting for their food and stuff when all of a sudden Art walks in. And he sits down and is immediately angled his body towards Tara and is like just staring at her. Staring into her soul. It's terrifying.
The way there was no like blinking as well.
Yeah. And he just was like dead set on her. And then, which I will say, getting a little bit ahead of myself, I wish her death was like more, it was very drawn out, but I wish it was like something more special than him just shooting her.
Yeah.
Because he was so like fixated on her at the beginning that I thought like maybe he would have had something really big planned for her.
But I think he got over it as soon as she started like
fighting
beating the crap out of him.
Yeah.
And also that we'll get to it. Yeah. But so he's just being creepy as fuck, looking at her, and it's the way that she also is like not breaking eye contact with him as well. She's also like just staring at him.
Yeah. And
like,
then he like tries a few different smiles at her, and that was so creepy. The first smile that when he was like,
when his face opens up really big, and it's because it's not even like a this way type of smile. It's so weird. It's like a this way type of like, yeah, it's weird,
real big and scary.
And then
it reminds me of like Attack on Titan in the Titans or in Solo Leveling. There's this one demon that
I can see that with their teeth and like how they
let
look.
me find this Solo Leveling.
And so as you're looking that up, Dawn she tries to like get Dawn to be like, we need to go, and Dawn's like, oh, like, let me go over here and be more of an asshole. And so she's like trying to take pictures with him. She's messing with his face, little hat, and his makeup, and is taking selfies with him,
which was wild. I was like, sure. Dawn is crazy.
I know she was drunk, but like also, oh yeah, very much like that. I can see that. Terrifying. Yeah.
If y'all can see that.
Zoom in on that, someone.
It's the demon from the main encounter room in Solo Leveling.
And she's
dungeon. They're called dungeons.
Dungeons.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
I was like, I don't know what it's called.
Pissing him off. So her comeuppance are, she gets what she gets later because of this, I feel like, and this moment. And he ends up...
especially when he takes a little picture with her.
Oh, yeah. He's
in her
like...
corpse.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, eh.
Haha. Post this, I'll get some more likes.
Yeah,
and
8 likes so far.
We have the dude who is like owning the place, I guess, coming to take his order, but he won't order, and he's just being quiet the whole time. So that dude walks off, and then that's whenever Art does the weirdest thing and like goes and grabs change, which is tip from another table, and puts it into the little quarter machine and gets a little fake ring out, and then goes and tries to give it to Tara.
Yeah, he like proposes to her, which was wild. And it was just so creepy how like he wasn't responding to anyone else and just everything. It was just so creepy. And then he proposes to her, grabs her hand, puts the ring on her hand, and she's like, what the fuck are you doing? Rightly so. And the whole time Dawn's like, he, this is so funny. And I was like, Dawn, you bitch, get your shit together. This is scary.
Dawn's a fucking bitch.
Yeah.
And then that's whenever he ends up going to the bathroom, right? He just walks, he goes to the bathroom.
Yeah. And then we also get the pizza guy coming up and saying like, hey, are you guys okay? Like, can I help you with anything? Like, I'll get him out of the store, because Dawn was like, he's harmless. And I was like, no, he's not.
Yeah.
And Tara was like, because he then thankfully looks at Tara and is like, how are you doing? And she didn't say anything, but he got the gist.
He said, don't worry, I'll handle it.
Yeah.
And then he goes to the restroom, and then, next thing you know, we have him coming back out with Art, and he's kicking him out. And we don't know why he's kicking him out just yet. And then before that, though, my bad, we have Tara, who is looking at his bag that he came with and is like, I wonder what's in that bag, to Dawn. And she's like, who cares? Like, it's, whatever, just eat your pizza. Fucking bitch. And then, we have them leaving. They're walking back. But when they get back to the vehicle, they notice that the tire is low, like flat, apparently. Slashed. Was it slashed?
I think it was slashed.
Sure it was slashed. Yeah, but they didn't say it was slashed, right?
Yeah, they said they have a flat tire.
Yeah, because Tara,
she was like, I probably just ran over a nail or something, and it was like, no, bitch, this is intentional, and you should listen to Tara whenever she says, what if that creepy guy in the clown costume did it? Because he more than likely did.
Yeah. It's a coincidence that shouldn't have happened. And then we have we're cutting back to the pizzeria, and we see what Art did in the restroom.
Yeah, and we are getting the other guy.
Oh yeah,
he's the one who's cleaning the mess, and he's like calling for Steve, but Steve's not answering, and so automatically I was like, oh, Steve dead.
Murdered. Yeah,
I was like, Steve ain't here no more.
Poor Steve.
But he shit all over the bathroom and like pissed everywhere.
Disgusting.
And they were like, Tara and Dawn were like, maybe he jizzed everywhere, which is what I immediately thought he was also doing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's true. Because like the girls and stuff or whatever.
Because of how fixated he was on Tara. That I was like, this man was probably masturbating or something.
Yikes.
And
no, he did what most people do in the public restrooms.
Yeah, which is cover them in shit, which is something that I'll never understand.
Me either, because I worked a lot in like having to clean public restrooms, like in places like at different jobs, and it's like, why? Why would you do that here?
Touch your poo-poo and smear it on the wall.
Why would you? How do you miss that bad? How do you? You don't. That's intentional. Or not even that. Just like sometimes it's just things that happen in there, and it's just like it's so traumatizing sometimes and demoralizing to have to clean it up. Yeah, it's dehumanizing for sure.
And this poor guy had to clean it all up and
spend his last moments in life doing that. Actually,
yeah. What a time to be alive.
And in the meantime, we're cutting back to Tara, who's calling Vic, her sister, to come scoop her and Dawn up. we learned that Vic, has a big test the next day, is studying, but she decides to go because her roommate in college, I guess, ended up walking in, and she's gonna have fornications with her
on the bed right next to her.
Yeah, which sounds about right.
Yeah,
sounds about college. I never went and had like that dorm life experience, but I feel like that's how it would be. Yeah. And so
I thankfully had a very good dorm roommate, so none of that ever happened.
Very respectful.
Yeah.
Very mindful.
Very demure.
Cool. And then we call, then we're what? We're in the car?
Yeah, we're in the car, and she's basically saying, like, it's, this is where she's talking about, is it possible that the clown guy slashed your tires? Like, he knows what your car looks like, and he has been really weird to us all night. Like,
yeah.
And Dawn's like, that's ridiculous. And I was like, girl, it is not ridiculous. She's got a point.
Dawn's really playing it down. But she's also, like, then being like, stop talking because, like, shut up because you're actually getting me freaked out now. Like, you're scaring me.
Yeah. And so she is freaking out, and Dawn's starting to get scared as well. And then we flash back to Homeboy coming out of the bathroom, and we see that he turns the corner. I was really hoping that Steve was going to be cooking inside the oven.
Oh, that would have been a way to go.
Like a little pizza. Yeah. But that didn't happen.
No.
So we turn around, though, and Steve is a jack-o'-lantern.
He's a jack-o'-lantern.
Very Michael Myers as well.
It was like candle. Like, how did he even get like flames, like little wicks? Like,
yeah,
or what?
He must have had some special candles that.
His own wick.
Yeah, that was inside that he just carefully put in there.
And so this obviously freaks out the dude.
He scooped out all of his brains and stuff too. That's wild. He had to get all the guts out.
That's a lot of shit that other dude had to clean, so he had some time.
Yeah, that's true.
And then so the dude then like is like freaking out and runs off, and did the phone ring or was he just going to grab it?
Yeah, the phone rang.
It rang, right? Yeah, the phone ringing, and he goes to grab it, but as soon as he does, Art just like chops his fingers off.
Yeah.
And I love how you see everything, and like chops his fingers off, bleeding everywhere. He's freaking out. And then at the same time, I think that we're with the girls, and they're still talking about this whole situation with Art, and then Dawn drops the R word. Like,
yeah, she does. And I was like, yeah, another reason not to like you.
Not to hate Dawn. And then we have then him cutting back to Art, killing the dude at the, I almost said diner, pizzeria, by like stabbing him in the face.
Yeah, and he's absolutely destroying this man. And I really loved the dichotomy between the slasher scenes with the music and everything that was, again, the music that was happening, and then them flashing to the girls and them talking. Like, and it was just silent and them talking. Like, I really liked that. We've seen it happen in a few movies before. I can't remember which ones, but I know we've mentioned it where there have been scenes like that, and I appreciate it every time.
Or it kind of reminds me of like the scene of like from Urban Legends, whenever the girl's getting murdered, like over the radio on the other side in the booth, and they're like listening to it at the party, and they're like, they don't even know that it's like really the murder happening.
Yeah. Good movie.
And then we have Tara being like, I really have to pee.
Yep. And she goes in, thankfully, or not thankfully, but this guy, who we later find out is named Mike, comes out onto the stoop of a little like walk-up looking warehouse, I guess.
I don't know what that building, like, because then you go inside of it, and like there were cars on the inside or the outside of it, on the backside.
On the backside, yeah.
Like, I didn't understand how that layout worked.
It was some sort of warehouse. That's what he referred to it as. And so, yeah. But Dawn's like, well, why don't you go ask that guy if you can go pee in there? And she was like, okay. And then Dawn's like, wait, no, I was actually kidding. Don't do that.
But Dawn is also really crazy to like be like, she like trusts, and she even said it. She was like, he's more scarier than the dude in the clown thing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get Dawn, but okay, sure. And so, yeah, he lets her in, and he's like, "You're lucky that you caught me just in time because I'm about to like bomb this whole place." And she was like, "Bomb?"
He was like, "Bug bomb."
Bug bomb, yeah. And she's like, "What kind of bugs?" And he's like, "You sure you want to ask that before you like use the restroom here?" But it's not even bugs. It's killing rats.
Rat infestation, yeah. And they get into the bathroom, and it's an awfully creepy looking bathroom. And I was like, I would just hold it instead of peeing.
Why? No. It was disgusting.
It was so gross looking. And I was like, ugh. Like if I was a man, sure, and like could stand up to pee and like not touch anything.
I wouldn't even pee in there, Caitlin.
Yeah.
You can pee. If you're a man, you can pee anywhere. Why would you want to pee in
outside?
There? Exactly.
Yeah, that's true.
I would not want to be in there. It's so gross. I bet you it smelled so bad in there.
It had to have. It looked like when it flashed to the urinal, I was like,
yeah.
Just like stagnant, stale pee. Yucky.
And then like all the like rust and like whatever else is in there, and mold and mildew and probably animals that are dead on the floor.
Dead rats.
Yeah. And then other rats eating those dead rats.
Little.
Ew.
Yummy.
Yeah. Oh, me and Jaden had the other idea. What if you were swimming on the Brazos and you got eaten by a alligator, but then the alligator had eaten like a family of snakes right before you, so you get into the belly of the alligator and they're not digested yet, so you're then getting devoured by snakes.
Ugh, I hate that idea. That's terrifying. Snakes and alligators are like two of my biggest fears.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't like snakes.
Alligators, how did that come about?
One time I had this dream of a flying crocodile / alligator.
That would be
like it had this.
How could it?
Its tail would spin like a little helicopter.
Yeah,
and it was just flying around and eating everyone.
Can you imagine?
It was terrifying. I was running from it like in the back of a truck, and I was like, "Go, go, go!"
Let evolution never give them wings because we would all be dead.
Yeah. Terrifying. But that's why I'm afraid of.
Got it. It makes sense. Complete sense.
Like watching them do the death spin.
Yeah.
Whenever they like catch something in its jaw and then they break its little neck.
Because there's not much saving you after that.
Yeah, no.
Unless you're lucky enough and it only got an arm, you ripped your arm right off, you could save the rest of your body.
Yeah, that's true.
But if like your head's in there or your torso's in there or you're like
internal organs getting smooshed.
Shredded.
Yeah. Probably not good.
It reminds me of the things with vegetables that you like spin and it's got the like the blades in there.
Oh yeah, like a food processor.
But you do it manually. Like
oh yeah.
Yikes. So no, I can't mention that on the podcast. Never mind.
Okay. You tell me after.
Yeah.
Okay. If we remember, we'll forget. But anyways, it's a disgusting looking bathroom. And then we flash back to Dawn in the car, and she's like taking selfies, having a little good time, not a care in the world. And then she clues into what the radio is actually saying. And the radio is
like a warning, like a 911. What are those called? PSA alerts?
Yeah. And it's basically saying that there were 2 men murdered at the Deer Hill Pizzeria or whatever the pizzeria was named. And that they were brutally murdered.
They were brutally murdered, yes.
And that the culprit...
They even have they're like he's in a clown mask, he's wearing black and white makeup, how would they know?
Yeah, well, there was a witness, they said at the scene, who saw him leaving.
Got it.
They say, according to an eyewitness, it was this clown guy in a black and white clown costume. And then we're still focused on Dawn whenever the door opens, and I was like, oh, that's not her getting in, is it? And then it
immediately
turns the camera pans over, and sure enough, it's Art. And he's like,
hi.
With his creepy little, I don't know if he does the wave there, but he does it a lot in the movie. And his creepy fucking smile with his nasty, rotten teeth.
Yeah, and she obviously freaks out. And then we cut to Tara back in the building, and she's getting out of the restroom. And for some reason, she decides to check out cat noises that she's hearing. But this also gives
a scary sounding cat, though.
Yeah, it doesn't give a cat that you want to go up and be like, oh, cute.
This cat was wailing and yowling and
sounds like it would attack you.
Yeah, sound pissed. I would not want to go touch that cat. And I mean, I was like, girl, you do not need to be snooping right now. Like, you need to get the fuck out of there.
And this place is about to be bombed for rats.
Yeah.
Like, anyways. And so I
wouldn't want to spend a second in there longer than I had to.
She's in there. And then we have her running into one of this unhoused lady who's
creepy lady with a baby doll.
Baby doll.
Emily.
You just described yourself.
That's true, I did.
I'm just kidding. But Miss Lady who has we never get her name either.
Yeah, I just call her Lady with Baby.
Yeah, and me too. I just say weird lady with baby. Who is
but we get Emily's daughter.
Called? What's it called when you're squatting?
Squatting
in this building, I'm assuming. And she has the little
unknowingly, because Mike later on is like, how the fuck did you get in here?
Fuck are you? Yeah, and she is living there, and she's talking to Tara, and she's telling her, like, oh, are you the new neighbor? We heard we were gonna get new neighbors. Please do your laundry with me because I get so lonely.
It would be nice to have that experience.
Yeah, and Tara like is kind of smart and is playing along so she can kind of get out of this, and she's like, okay, well, I'm gonna go talk to the landlord because I need to pay the rent, and at this point, I think she ends up going to find Mike. She finds Mike, but she doesn't necessarily go to find him, but she ends up running into him, but he can't hear her because he's got his rock and roll playing in his headphones, and she's like trying to yell to get his attention. He's faced the other way, and before she can get his attention, this part kind of made me jump a little bit, even though I saw it, like I knew it was coming.
I don't think this quite happened yet.
Am I ahead?
A little bit, because she gets stabbed in the leg first.
Oh,
before she goes up and finds Mike. Because
she's hiding in the cars. She's hiding in the cars.
Yeah. She comes out, and Art is standing there, and I wrote again, I like the music a lot. But I was like, girl, you need to run, because she was like hiding behind the car, and this part had so much tension.
Yes.
Whenever he like...
I was actually afraid at this part.
Yeah, me too. Because I was like, oh, God. Especially when she was hunched over and we couldn't see his feet anymore. I was like, girl, he's behind you. Get up. Like,
same. No, I thought the same thing, too. I thought, like, he's definitely going to pop out at some point, or he's definitely going to get the upper hand on her. But, yeah, she ends up still trying to, like, get to another car, another vehicle. I guess she thinks that he's in another part of the building. But then out of nowhere, he just starts stabbing her leg.
Yep. Yeah. Stabs her in the leg, and then he, like, gets on top of her and is trying to gouge her eyes out. But then she stabs him in, like, the rib cage area. And runs and goes hides as he like recovers from being stabbed.
Yeah.
And
she hides behind a toolbox and grabs like a little crowbar looking thing.
Yeah, and then throws something to get him off her trail. And then we flash to Vic, and Vicky is hearing the news report too of this like killer clown, basically, and she's just like, oh, great.
Yeah.
Like, of course this would be happening.
For real.
And little does she know that poor Tara is, like, in the heat of it right now.
And then that's whenever we have Tara being able to kind of get away a little bit. She makes a run for it, ends up bolting to, like, the front of the building where she ended up coming into. And she notices that there are bolts and chain. Also, why they're like 3 or 4, but there are like bolts and chains on the front door handles.
Yeah. And then she still proceeds to try them.
And not so even loud. That. She's just like shaking them like vehemently. And then, making all this noise.
I was like, girl, you are being a little too loud right now.
And I was literally thinking that too. And then this is when she runs up the stairs. She gets into the area where Mike's at, and
being awfully loud with her running too. Like, I mean, I know that she's just got stabbed in the leg. I didn't understand why she didn't take like her heels off, like boot heel things, whatever they were. Yeah. So she could run better faster, or whatever. I don't know. And so she's making a lot of noise, and then she's trying to get his attention, and he won't see her because men never see women for who they really are and value them. And then that's whenever Art literally just comes and snatches her up. Yep, he gets her, and right as she did finally yell out enough for Mike to turn around, but Art took her to the side.
He really should have seen that shadow, though. I saw, like, you could see the shadow of, like, the person kind of, like, moving away. Art, but he just didn't focus on that.
Yeah.
Or care enough.
yeah, he probably was like, oh, just
or
some noises or the rats.
Or just not observant.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's true. It's a big ass rat.
It would be a very big rat, but it's like the rats from The Princess Bride.
But then he ends up sedating, Art ends up sedating Tara.
Yep. He injects her with something and then he's tied her up and he's like teasing her, like pretending like he's going to hit her and just like up in her face and stuff, making her flinch. And then he takes a freaking saw to her throat and like
just
pretends to
he's toying with her at this point. Yeah,
pretends to like saw her throat but doesn't do it. And then he walks over to the curtain and I mean I assumed Dawn was going to be behind here, but
not like this.
That
was weird. Did you hear that?
No.
Oh, well, like my left ear went in. It was weird.
Oh,
but it's fine now.
Okay, good.
But not like this. Yes.
Yeah, she was. We get Dawn tied up naked behind the curtain, upside down. Yeah, and her legs are separated. She's
kind of like in star formation, I would say.
Yeah, like a little starfish.
Yeah, and it's I wasn't expecting her to be all like naked, like boobies out, like
titties out,
just there, just strapped up. Obviously her mouth is taped up so she can't like be screaming and stuff. And Tara's flipping out because that's like her friend over there, just hung up, and obviously like, oh my god, what the heck is about to happen? And he gets that saw, and I'll let you talk about it as you being a woman. I feel like you have more authority to speak on this subject because I can't imagine.
No.
I can't imagine.
I can't imagine either. It sounds fucking terrible. Looked fucking terrible. It was so... I don't know.
And if it's graphic, and I'm telling you, the movie really goes there. It really does, because who thinks these things up?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we do sometimes, but this was really, like, honestly, even for me, I'm like, oh, that's sick. Like, that is just psychotic. That is just...
Dirk.
Ooh.
He saws her vagina in half all the way to her, like halfway through her head.
Basically all the way to their chin and mouth almost.
Yeah, he kind of stops at the skull when I guess there's a little too much bone to get through.
How do you get through the ribs? How do you get through all the sternum and spine and all that?
Well, I imagine he would have gotten through the ribs in the middle.
Yeah, where it's easiest, I guess.
Yeah, but the spine is a different... I mean... He
was just... He cut down.
He was going... And it was... it kind of reminds... It kind of reminds me of like when you're in a C-section and you can like feel them tugging. Not that I've had a C-section, but this is like what everyone says is like you're coherent.
Yeah.
And you can like feel them tugging at you and like your body's just like...
You don't feel the pain, but
shaking
you feel like
around.
That jerking and stuff.
You could just see Art's head like moving as he was like...
Yeah.
His body was shaking and like it was like he was like really sawing through something.
And she's alive, so she's screaming and like her body's like wriggling like a worm on a hook.
Yeah. Wriggly, like a worm and wriggly.
Yeah, and Tara is just watching this all happen. And at a certain point, after she's like just like
I would have thrown up,
flipping and freaking out. Yeah, so I was wondering how she did it with that tape on her mouth, and then like and then like
start choking
she's
on her own
kind
vomit.
of just there watching at a certain point, like it happened, because what else can you do? And she gets to a point where she starts to be able to, because he's taking his while getting down, break off one of the arms, and then she's able to untie the other arm and then break out from her legs. And right as she does, Art comes up to her and she is able to like whack him in the face with the arm of the chair, and she stabs him, I believe, once.
And I was like, girl, you should have killed him.
It's because it's a scary movie.
You should have cut off his head and then made him choke on his own penis or something. Like, no,
cut into little bitty pieces.
Yeah,
that's what needed to be happen.
And then boil him in a vat of oil.
Listeners, if you're ever chased or ever have to come against anything that's trying to kill you, literally cut it up, whatever you can do first. Because kill them, yes, and don't do like double tap for sure, Zombieland, but like also cut it up because you never know. Like in all the things we've ever seen, like if something
comes back,
if something can resurrect, like it will be a lot harder if the pieces are like not together. It might still even resurrect, but
come
like
back all like
it'll be like, you know, you might be able to hold it at bay for a while. But yeah, it just runs off, and I'm like, no, that was your chance. And
that was the other reason Andrew disliked this movie. He was like, they had like 5 opportunities to kill him, and different people did, and none of them took it.
Yeah, none of them did.
But yep, she's hiding again, which I was like, girl, we got to figure something else out. And then she hits him with the board. She finds a board. He like sneaks up on her. Yeah, and she's beating the shit out of him. And she's like, come on, motherfucker, get up.
This is the part that pissed me off, is that he's on the floor. She could literally like get rid of him. And then she's like she's giving him a chance.
Like, get up so I can hit you again. But then this motherfucker was hiding a damn gun in his little ankle, and he goes boom, shoots her in the leg right where he stabbed her, and so she's like now like crawling around, and then he shoots her again in the stomach, and then we kind of flash back to that lady and she's just listening to all of this happen.
Yeah, and
she's like, oh, guess the neighbors weren't such a good idea after all. And I was like, lady, you're listening to people get murdered.
She's like, not my business.
Yeah,
but I'm
just
still
cares
watch.
About Emily.
But I'm still listen. To me, I thought actually that it was pretty like cool and sick that he just like popped that gun out of nowhere.
Yeah,
because I feel like in other movies or whatever, like it's or maybe like Michael Myers or other things, like they stick usually to the knives, or like it's very kind of like hand to hand, very close. Him just pulling that out, I was just like, oh well, that's just like
everything's out the window.
Everything's out the table. Well, yeah, exactly. I was like, there are no rules in this one. Like there's just, you can do anything. So I literally thought, I was like, nobody's surviving. I was like, in this type of like, I was like, nobody's gonna survive. No, we're not gonna get a happy ending. We're all dead. Yeah, I was like, and it's especially because I thought, like, I was thinking at a certain point, like, Tara is gonna like, she's still gonna somehow make it, right? And and then you know we get to see that he's just walks up to her and just shoots her in the head.
Yep.
And then she's still not dead though, and he tries to shoot her more, but he ran out of bullets.
Yep.
His cart's empty, so he goes to get that, but at the same time, I think this is whenever something's distracting him, right? Is someone honking? Is that when the dude's honking?
I think that's a little bit later. But okay. Vic arrives.
That's what it is, yeah.
And so she texts or she calls Don's phone as he's going back to get more bullets.
To get a clip.
A clip. And Don's phone calls, and then so he doesn't answer. He texts Vic back and says, Tara's sick, come around the back. And so she's like, fine, okay. So she goes around back, and then this is where he's going, and he takes that little picture with Don's corpse, which I thought was very kitschy and cute.
Campy.
Campy, yeah. Yes. It's like,
this movie had a lot of camp in
That's funny.
He's a really campy killer.
He is.
Like when he's riding the tricycle.
Yeah, very Jigsaw too in that moment. Yeah, I know. The whole time, like every time he'll do like his little like ooh, or his pulling his top hat off his head.
There were actually, if you think about it, that is very Jigsaw, right? And then like there's so many elements I feel like he's taking from different horror like murderers and things that like even in a while he almost gives me Buffalo Bill in a second when he starts to do the weird thing and he puts like, you know, the chest plate on and everything, and he's kind of got the hair on. But
Buffalo Bill, that's from
Silence of the Lambs. Remember that one? And so and also I don't know if you noticed earlier, I didn't realize that the whole time. This is what my big aha moment was like, oh, that plastic bag is full of weapons.
Like, oh, yeah.
Earlier, is that what is on the table and we see it? Or I don't know. I just don't know why I didn't realize until this point. I was like, oh, he just literally got mass weapons in there. I guess whenever he was with her earlier and teasing her and toying her, I didn't realize that was the trash bag.
Oh, yeah, that he was pulling from.
Yeah. I thought they were just like on the ground or something.
Yeah, I noticed like whenever he was doing the montage in the beginning, you can see him loading up the trash bag with all the weapons. So I knew immediately that's
what was in there. And I guess I was writing a note, or I just wasn't looking at the screen when that happened, because the whole time, even when she was saying like, I wonder what's in the bag, I was thinking like, it's a body. There's a body in there or something. Oh, when I think about it now, I'm like, I guess a trash bag would not hold a body. It would rip right through, because bodies are pretty heavy.
Maybe it's industrial strength.
Yeah, heavy
Carpenter
duty. What a hefty.
Yes. Wimpy.
And so
bring back commercials like that.
For real. What is that? Hanes? I'm just kidding.
Hanes. That's underwear.
Ziploc.
Glad.
Sponsor us, Glad.
Hefty.
Both Glads.
Wimpy.
We also support gays.
Yes, Glads and gays.
Yeah, because Glad is an organization that is like homosexual.
Is it?
The GLAAD. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it has 2 A's in it. Anyways, sponsor us, anybody. And so we have...
that's Glade. And that's their commercials where they're like, it's not Glade, it's Glade.
Oh, no, that's Febreze. I'm thinking of the ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. Isn't that Febreze? La, da, 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 da. Like
I think so.
La, da, 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 da. It's something like that. The snack that smiles back.
Goldfish.
Okay, let's stop, because
O'Reilly.
my brain is just like unlocking all of them.
Parts.
Ow!
Stanley Steamer makes your home cleaner. Okay.
Safe Light Repair.
Safe Light Replace.
And so what is happening to my brain? I can't. Brain rot.
Lady.
The lady.
I went.
What did you scoop?
I scooped too far down. Scooted.
This is whenever he comes back and he shoots Dawn in the head.
Tara.
Yeah, my bad.
In the head.
Yeah.
And he shoots her. He
Multiple
unloads
times.
the gun into her skull.
He's so mad at his girlfriend for wanting to beat him up. He is not a fan of domestic abuse.
And then Lady with Baby finally comes out of hiding and sees what happens. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes and, she tries to get help with Mike. But Mike's like, how the fuck did you get in here, first off?
He was really mean to her.
He was.
And he pushes her on the ground.
Yeah. And he's like, don't touch me.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, girl, boy, listen, he is like telling you. She is telling you, like,
what's up?
People are dying. And he's just like,
I think she's kooky.
Yeah. I even if I would still, I would still call the police first and then ask questions later.
Because either way, even with her, you would need them, right?
Yeah.
Ish? I don't know. Yeah, you probably would. Because there's also someone squatting that shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
But, like, also, let's hear her out. Like, you never want to just, like, call the police
automatically assume.
Because someone's situation could be, like, But anyways, she's freaking him out. And I guess kind of rightly so, because man is just trying to do his job. And also, it's been a weird night overall. I'm pretty sure for him,
Yeah, he's just trying to do his job, and he's had this random girl come out and ask to pee. Now there's another lady in here. Like, how is he to know that she didn't, like, let the lady in?
Earlier, he thought he heard a scream, but then it wasn't a scream.
Yeah.
And then, he ends up, like, being like, hold up. Let me go out of here. He starts to try to call 911 when he's in the stairway. Wait, I'm getting ahead of myself. My bad. He ends up going out, and then that's whenever she starts to think about, she's like, Emily. And so she runs, I guess, to go find her, fake baby doll. And then that's whenever she ends up going to go to him.
Yeah, well, you were right earlier.
He did get killed by Art, right?
Yeah.
Already? Okay.
So Mike is in the stairwell, and he calls his buddy instead of the police to be like, yo, or his coworker saying like, yo, there's someone else in here. But unfortunately, before his coworker picks up, Mike is knocked unconscious with a hammer. And I was like, Mike's dead.
Yeah, I thought he was dead at this point too.
But then later on, I was like, oh, he's not dead.
Guess he made it.
Yep. And
but then the bigger
No, I did write, or at least knocks him unconscious.
Okay,
so
that's good.
Maybe I had an inkling that
he was still gonna make it a little bit longer. Yeah, not too much longer. And then we have we go. Mama comes to find that Emily's been taken. Emily's no longer in her crib, and she's like, "Oh my god!" And then that's whenever we have Mike's friend showing up outside in his truck, and there's so much going on. And then Vic is looking for Dawn and Tara still.
Yeah, and she's walking around not being quiet either.
Yeah,
which she doesn't know she needs to be quiet, but
and she's also like, like, if you guys better stop. Like, if y'all are, if
this is a joke, it's not funny.
Yeah, I'm gonna kill you.
Yeah, and I was like, too late. They're already dead. And then, she literally said, "I swear to God, if this is a prank, I'm gonna kill you both." And I was like,
and
too
then
late.
We come back to the lady, and she sees that Art has Emily in like a tunnel-looking situation thing.
Yeah, below it's like
where the gas
innards.
Stuff,
all the pipes.
Ooh. And then he owe me a Coke, and she ends up going to him.
Kind of Coke.
Not that kind, definitely not. And then that's whenever she goes to him, and she's like, "Have you never been loved by a mother?
Is there kindness in you?
Yeah,
somewhere in your heart.
Have you never had a mother's touch? And
Can
then
you show no mercy?
She's the only thing I have. Spare her life." And she like holds him, and he starts to suck his thumb, and
which was disgusting.
It's pretty
to
weird.
Me.
Yeah, it was kind of weird. It's really creepy to see a grown man, let alone a grown man with like
in a clown costume
suit with like blood all over his hands.
Yeah, his hand was so bloody. I was like, "What is he putting in his mouth?" And then I realized it was his thumb once I heard the suckling, and I was like, "Oh, he's sucking his thumb, and she's just holding him."
Yep, and she's crying.
Yep.
This was healing for both her and him. And that's whenever she ends we cut back to our
Vicky.
Oh yeah, Vic. She's still looking for Dawn and everybody, and unfortunately she ends up finding Dawn not the way she would like, because she calls her phone and then it leads her into the room that they're kind of in, and she sees that she's all fucked up and dead and bloodied and cut in half. Yeah. And then she runs and is screaming and she's freaking out, of course, and then she's calling out Tara's name, and then we start to hear something from down in like this like weird this place is a labyrinth. It's like a dungeon looking area.
Yeah.
The basement.
A little.
The basement to the basement.
It led down to the tunnels.
Yeah.
And she heard a scream, which is what she thought it was Tara. And so she goes down there, and there's this part was fucking wild to me.
Because what she thinks is Tara is laying on the ground, and she's like trying to come up to her and be like, it's okay, like I've got you. She tries to call the police, and she's like, it's gonna be okay. And I'm like, dude, that's not Tara. I don't know who that is, but that's not Tara. I thought it was the other lady.
I thought it was the other lady too, and I was like, oh my God, that's not Tara, but like, you need to get out of there because there's a killer. And then it flashed over to the other lady's body, scalped body.
Yeah.
And I was like,
wait,
oh,
if that's
shit.
her.
And then he stands up and he's got her fucking boobies on him. He took her chest off and scalped her and was wearing her hair like a wig, and then wearing her boobs.
Like a chest plate.
And
like a drag queen would or something.
And he's just walking around. Yeah, I could definitely see Art the Clown being like I almost said Baba Ganoush. Babadook.
Babadook?
Yeah, Babadook. I could see him being like a gay icon.
Oh yeah, for sure. And she's obviously freaking out because he pops up right next to her with his clown makeup on and his like long hair, and he's acting all freaky. She's running out. He's chasing behind her. Once again, all freaky. Like, he's not walking like he was just walking like in his clown suit.
Yeah, now he's got
doing
like this little saunter to him.
Yeah, it's a little creepy. And she ends
moving his arms. Like, kind of reminded me of the queen from the Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland. Anne Hathaway's the White Queen.
Yeah.
Whenever she walks around and she's all like...
Yeah, kind of all elegant. In a way,
airy, and just weird hands,
kind of whimsical.
Yeah,
and she hides in this like a closet locker type of situation, which I was like, oh God, he's gonna know you're in there. And yeah, he's just walking up, doing very creepily. Like she's looking at I liked how we could see her eye through the eye hole thing. Like I thought it was pretty cool shots. And then and also the shot of him out there, and he's just dancing, and then he's just pointing at her, just kind of taunting, and like he knows that she's in there, but he's not going in there.
It was so creepy.
Yeah,
just watching his face and like him pointing and stuff. That was like, I was like, oh God, like that sinking feeling you must have being trapped. You're literally cornered in that moment, and he knows where you are. And it's like, ugh.
Creepy, and kind of Saved by a Bell, kind of not, because I feel like he was also just taking his time anyways. But we have the friend that's outside, like honking his horn. Yeah. And he's trying to call Mike, and like Mike won't answer, obviously. And he's like, hey, like every door in this place is locked. Like you gotta let me in, whatever. But he remembers before he, I guess, is about to leave that there's a spare key underneath the mat. So he gets it, goes inside.
That part was kind of funny too. His realization while he's sitting in the car, he's like,
and and then he goes and back. It just shows him catch it. I thought at that point that was gonna be like some like flashback or dream sequence or something, but it was actually happening. Like when he sees like the keys there or something. But yeah, and he goes inside. He's looking around. He sees that there's like bloody footprints. Ends up finding the doll, and it's all bloody, and he's like, what the heck? And before he can kind of make much out of it, Art comes from behind him, stabs his head, and is holding him in place, and is just basically kind of carving him up.
Yep, he chops his little head off, and then he smashes the head under his foot, takes that knife back out of the top of his skull, and then he kicks it like a little soccer ball.
Having fun with his prey. And then we have him. This is when we have the tricycle.
Riding scene. The little tricycle, just like Jigsaw.
As Vic's trying to escape, but she can't get out because every door in this fucking building is locked. Like every single place they're trying to get out of.
Yeah, and she's down in like some weird under area again, and she sees this little hole. And I was like, I don't know, girl. I don't know if I'd go in there. And then right as I was writing that, he like gets her with the cellophane behind her head, popped up out of nowhere, and I was like, holy shit, where'd he come from? And then she like is like
she's trying to fight it,
dying,
because he's suffocating her. And
but then
the whole
finally
time I'm
she
thinking,
rips open the mouth. I was like, girl, do it.
Yeah, the whole time I've been thinking like, do that, and she's trying, but she can't for the longest. And I'm like, oh God, like that must be some really strong plastic. Right? Yeah. But she finally rips a hole through it, and I love how he's just kind of like,
what the fuck?
Oh, like how'd she
get through that?
Yeah, and then she ends up stabbing him, right, or something.
Yeah, and or does something, and he flips her off. Yeah, as she runs off, and this is
she
where
stabs him in the foot. That big ass nail.
That's right. And I love, this is where I was like, I love how he's silent throughout everything. Like, because even in that moment, he just goes, and like looks at his foot with his hands out, like, ouch, that hurt. But he was miming it off all, and then flips her off. But and then this is where we see that Mike's not dead.
Oh no.
Mike starts crawling, and he is like getting up,
coming to,
and we flash back to Vic. She finds Tara finally,
and he totally is messing with her at this point.
And he's made a display of her just like Michael would do. Yeah. And
what did it say on the thing?
Circus or something? Circus? It's something with a C.
I think it was circus for sure. I guess to go with the clown a whole bit. But yeah, it's got her whole body there. It's mutilated, of course, because it shot her all up and in the face. And she's like, oh my God, my sister.
You can't be dead. Wake up, wake up. And I was like, girl, I know this really sucks, but you don't got time to sit still.
And then that's whenever he comes out and he just starts like whipping her.
Flogging her, with some sort of like knife.
It's a chain that had knives on the end of it, like switchblades.
Yeah. And he's just like beating this, and it's slicing into her skin. Yeah, it looked bad.
Thankfully, Mike comes up from behind.
Yeah, hell yeah, Mike knocks him out, but again, doesn't kill him. No. And I was like, no.
And they get away for a little while, and he's able to call the cops, but as they're running away and trying to get out, they can't because, and you think he would know of a better way to get out or something, or a secret way, or like a way that like service people get out.
But this is probably his first time ever, like, having to go there.
Ever?
For, like, I think he was just an extermination company. And so I think it was probably, he probably hadn't been there long.
Ever, maybe. And then that's whenever he ends up getting caught by Art from behind him.
Because he wasn't even, like, really sure of the address.
Like, they just got contracted.
He just was
there.
like, he was like, the old warehouse on blah, blah, blah street.
That's true.
And so I think maybe he hadn't been there a lot.
So he didn't know. And that didn't help him in his favor at all. Because Art comes and just, boom, knocks him out with his own, I think it was their own, like, gas cans or whatever.
Pest control thingy. And he kills Mike for real this time. He fucking smashes his head. And it's been a while since we've had a head smashing. But if y'all remember, I strongly dislike that. I can't, head's getting smashed in. I can't watch it.
Can't stomach it.
And it shows his face later in the morgue, too. And I was like...
And Art had a big-ass clown shoe foot.
Yeah, and he just, like, smashed his little head, collapsed it in on itself. Very good practical effects in this movie. Like,
all the way throughout.
Super good the whole time.
Because everything looks very realistic.
Yeah, and it was nasty. But anyways, Vic ends up stabbing him in the eye with something and escapes. But then she fucking goes back inside.
Why?
I know. I was like, why would you go back inside, you dumbass?
I had never understood. I never understood, as if I've seen this 20 times. I didn't understand that. I thought, I was like, why are we going? I thought I missed something because I was like, why would she go back inside?
Like, Tara's dead. Like, get to the road, find a car. You like not.
It wasn't like right behind her that she needed to like go somewhere else for safety. Like she had a moment to like. So I also was confused as to why she went back in, and she's back in there. He ends up coming from behind her as she's just kind of like at the opening of like this barn door type of situation, and he's got her by the hair and he's like yanking her hair out.
Yeah, he ripped out a nasty chunk of her hair.
I love how like she walks away and you can still see the chunk of hair like on the floor.
Yeah,
and it's just laying there. And then she's like gets away from him after he pulls the hair out, and you can kind of hear like sirens coming up in the background.
Yeah, I was like, oh, good, sirens. And then all of a sudden
you just see lights because she's like peering out through the doors, and she hears like a vehicle approaching, and then he just busts through the doors.
Yeah, I was like, oh good, the police are here. And then all of a sudden
boom.
It was boom. It all happened so fast that I was like, what the fuck just happened?
And you just see her body fly. Yeah, and I was like mid note, and then I was like, oh fuck. And then like,
yeah, I was mid note too, and so I was like so confused, and then I just see him there and he's shaking his head like singing along to the music and stuff.
And her body flew, the jazzy music, and her body flew over, and she's just like laying there, and you see blood coming out of her mouth and stuff. Yeah,
and then he gets out and
starts to eat her.
Zero self-preservation, like as far as the police go.
Yeah,
he was just like, yeah, I'm gonna eat her. Starts eating her little face, and then the police come up. Yeah, and they're like, put your fucking hands up. I swear to God, put your fucking hands up. And
we'll shoot you. We will. We'll do it.
Yeah, and I was like, do it. Do it already. Shoot him.
Like, I'll shoot everybody else.
Yeah.
Shoot him.
Exactly. The one time.
For real.
And like, but then, of course, we know as soon as I saw him reaching for his ankle, I was like, oh, there's another gun. And sure enough, he pulled out a gun, but instead of turning it on them like I thought he was going to,
he takes himself out.
Yeah, he takes himself out and
shoots himself in the head, and then the cops are like, hey, we need backup, shots fired, to multiple bodies. But then one officer is like, hey, you won't believe this.
She's still alive.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, damn. Yeah. And then they bring in two bodies to the coroner. We find out later that it's Mike and
Terrifier. Art.
And he is like, give me a breakfast sandwich. He was like, I need something with bacon. And I was like, I would not want to be eating bacon while looking at like corpses, like just especially ones that are as mutilated as these bodies are. Like bacon's too similar in color.
He's been, like you said,
he's been doing it for 20 years, and he's seen a 8-month-old microwave baby.
So everything's just old hat.
Yeah.
Never heard that saying before, but yes. And that's whenever he opens up the first bag, and then we get a good look at Mike.
Yep, and this is where I was like, I can't do it.
And but then he's like, you know what? Let me go look at the person who did this, the man of the hour. And he goes to open up Art's bag, and when he does, Art's one eye is just kind of like looking at him,
looking
all
right
crazy.
at him.
And then all of a sudden,
I was like, ew.
Yeah.
Like, that was so creepy.
It was very creepy. And then we start to hear, for some reason, the lady who had the baby, her voice come over, like, whatever it is, like, narrative, whatever. And it's repeating the same line she said earlier. I don't remember what line it was, but something that she said earlier. And the phone's ringing. And
I couldn't make sense of anything that was being said.
Oh, it was one of the same lines she said earlier. Oh. Like, it was either about the neighbors or something like that. I don't remember. And then the phone's ringing, and then we're getting all the lights flickering, and then
very paranormal situation happening.
And then that's whenever we have. And I was already thinking, I was like, oh man, he's about to resurrect.
I was waiting for his body to come up, like, while the flashing was happening, and like just seeing, like in a haunted house when you've got the strobe lights and it like makes things look like they're moving, like
slowly.
slow.
Yeah.
And so I was expecting to see his body like don't raise up and like kill the coroner right there.
Yeah.
And then, but he waits till everything settles down again, and then the coroner looks back at the body and gets him right in the throat.
Yeah, and then we cut to our ending scene, and we cut to the hospital.
Yep, with Victoria
and her parents and the doctor, and they're talking, and it's release day, so she's about to get released, and they're talking about how good she's done and been doing, and even through all of this, how she's had a good sense of humor. She didn't lose it. And we spin her around, and we find out that
Victoria was the woman from the beginning.
With the mutilated face.
Who killed that mean interviewer. Yep. And that's it.
That's it, folks. That's the end.
That's all, folks.
2016's Terrifier.
Terrifier, that's right. Yeah, pretty wild ride.
Yeah. It's like, it's the first movie in a while that actually kind of genuinely gave me some good scares. Terrified me, creeped me out a little bit. And even though I wouldn't say that like the writing was like, oh my God, the best writing in the world, or like everything, especially earlier on in the movie between like Dawn and Tara, I would say that throughout the whole movie, like,
I hope we covered the right Terrifier. There's one that came out in 2011.
Yeah, that's a short.
Oh, it's a short?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I looked up into it, and
oh, and yeah, it's only 20 minutes.
Yeah. Actually, Art the Clown is from that, and then from this movie called All Hallows Eve, which came out in 2013.
And then maybe The Ninth Circle?
The Ninth Circle.
2008?
Those are short films, The Ninth Circle and Terrifier, and they were made like separately, but then they got put into the All Hallows Eve movie as a part of the lore. And like the babysitter in the All Hallows Eve movie is watching those short movies with him in it with her kids, and then he starts to kill them. Yeah. So that's kind of the introduction of Art the Clown.
Yeah, because I was reading one of my fun facts, and it was like David Howard Thornton, sorry, I'm going to read this one right now, was the sixth person who auditioned for Art the Clown after Mike Gianelli retired from the role and acting altogether. And I was like, uh-oh. But during the audition, he began miming, tasting his beheaded victim's blood, but then added salt to it to improve its flavor, and this is what won him the role. Anyways, tell me your...
Oh, 5 stars.
Yeah.
5 boos.
5 boos.
5 boos out the gate. Like, it's practical effects for really giving us kind of just going, like, every time it was going to do something, it kind of surprised me.
Yeah.
It took a turn in ways where I was just kind of like, oh, like that's what I would have done, but I just wouldn't expect a movie to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was really thrilling. I liked Art. I thought it was kind of really terrifying that like and finding out at the end that he's giving definitely Michael Myers vibes. Like, he won't die. Like, you can't get away from Art, and you can't really necessarily kill him. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of just something where it's like, I would never want to get into his crosshairs, I guess. Because it also seems that, like, he doesn't forgive and forget. Especially coming after the pizza guy and everything. And I am super interested in, like, where the story will go, how we get more of him, and I'm interested in learning more about, like, the lore and the character itself, since we don't know that much about it. Interested to cover the other 2 movies, since we've covered this one now. I will say, and even at certain points I was like, oh, this is a lot. Even like the gory parts for me were kind of a bit too much at times, and for me that's kind of like, I like that, because if it's like, oh, it's too much for me, like, I feel like a lot of other movies, I guess we're too jaded or something. Like, it's just like, it's not scary. It's not enough. Like, I don't know. Like, it just didn't go there. And this one definitely wasn't holding back. It goes there. Yeah. I thought, like, that scene with Dawn and everything, and, like, the cutting of her up and stuff was pretty sick and gnarly. And I thought that Art himself, like, you pointing out that, like, he wasn't talking, and that really the scare just came from his almost restraint of, like, not giving you, like, this, like, big performance in terms of, like, dialogue, but more so just through his actions and how kind of sick he was and crazy he was. And I thought that I think that there's probably so many things that they could do now with this whole thing. And as we're seeing now that it's, like, becoming a big movie, I was just looking at, like, the numbers and stuff. Like, this movie was made for, like, $5,000 or something like that, or around there, or it's really little, like, between, I don't know, I might be wrong on what I heard or what I read earlier, but, like, it made, like, thousands, I was trying to see if it thousands of dollars. But then the second one I know was made for, like, $250,000 or something like that, because they got more budget, right? But it's made, like, millions. Oh, wow. Like, it made, like, 50 million or something like that. Yeah. So a lot of people are, like, wanting more of it. So that's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. Yeah, I've definitely seen Art the Clown, like, around.
Oh, yeah.
And have seen him in things. And even Andrew was like, oh, I've seen this guy in, like, memes before and stuff.
With the internet culture.
Yeah. And, yeah. So, anyways, you want some fun facts?
Fun fact.
David Howard Thornton, who portrays Art the Clown, has previous mime experience, which he utilized in his performance.
You can tell.
You can definitely tell.
Yeah.
Yeah. He did a great job. The ambulance that drives past Dawn as she listens to the radio broadcast in the car was unplanned. That was a real ambulance that drove by. Oh.
Well, that's perfect timing.
Yeah. Director Damien Leone created Art the Clown because he felt that the 2010s lacked an iconic horror clown. However, he purposely made Art as different from its Pennywise as possible. For example, Art doesn't have hair, wears all black and white, uses weapons, and doesn't speak. And then this is the part that I kind of chuckled at earlier. But David Howard Thornton describes Art as an evil Mr. Bean. He was inspired by other silent and physical actors such as Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton, Lon Chaney, Doug Jones, and Jim Carrey.
That's cool.
But an evil Mr. Bean, I can totally see it.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Mr. Bean is kind of creepy to me.
Mr. Bean is kind of creepy.
And regular.
I was wondering if you wanted to read Chantal's boo rating, since I just read all the fun facts. And then I'll give my boo rating.
So Chantal had a really good in-depth review, boo rating, broken up into 2 parts. Let's see. I'm going to read it like as if Chantal's reading it.
Yeah.
So my boo rating is a 4. I love what the director Damien Leone did with such a low budget, and his use of with such a low budget, and his use of practical effects is very effective. It's also impressive that he created those effects himself. Art the Clown, I didn't know that. Thank you for giving me that insight. Wow. And Art the Clown is a killer who is sadistic with a maniacal sense of humor, and David Howard Thornton really brings him to life. While he is a killer, Art doesn't forget that he is a clown, making sure to add those silly, clownish elements to his menace. What Art is doing
That's true.
What Art is doing is obviously horrendous, but he has such a charm to him where I can't help but to smile underneath my wincing. This is a movie that is for shock value. It is not to be taken too seriously. With all the gore, the level of campiness is what makes this movie a fun ride. However, the director knows how to carefully toe the line in order to keep us just a little afraid of Art the Clown. I don't know about you, but if I was in a local pizza shop and had him staring at me from the table across from me,
I would have left.
I would be very unsettled. Yeah.
I would have been like, nope, we're getting out of here right now.
No, I agree with her. And I do agree with her on this fact that like the director did a really good job of like, Art is very campy, where like I almost don't want to take him seriously. Like I'm like I could kill him, but then I'm like, no. I'm like, wait, can I? And then he's immortal,
twisted killer. Yeah, that can. I'm wondering if it was somehow a trick that he like blew
his brain out.
Yeah,
maybe.
Like fake gun, and then have like like a magic trick or something.
Yeah. Well, I did try to do a little bit of research, and there's not a lot of like lore necessarily behind him. So we don't know if he's like a demonic presence or like a human that is being possessed or like some occult type of thing, like almost Michael Myers, like how they tried to do that a little bit. But I don't know. I don't know.
Well, so we've got a 5, a 4, and I think I'll sit at a 4.75. 4.75. Yeah, I really like this movie. I will say, I mean, granted, knowing its budget now, it explains it, but the acting was a little lackluster in some areas, especially from Tara.
Yeah.
But I also think that's part of the charm of it, though.
Even Dawn's character was even more believable. Like in her acting,
yes.
Like I believed that character 100%. I was like, "What an asshole bitch!"
Yeah,
like,
hate her.
Yeah.
No.
Tara, especially when she was like just kind of looking at Art, and then whenever she's in the building and she's like, "Get up, motherfucker!" I was like, "Okay, chill, calm down, girl."
Yeah,
like we can get you're trying to act big and bad, but it's not very believable.
I thought she did a pretty okay job in the get up part, but it was just other little lines like whenever. This could be more on part the writing, like the "if only you had a brain," and she was like, "I've been wanting to use that line all night." It felt so forced.
Yeah.
And
just like that joke.
Yeah. And so it just was like, but that's the only thing that knocks it down from a 5 for me, because otherwise the practical effects were phenomenal. The scenes, the kills were probably some of the gnarliest, like most brutal kills I've ever seen. I agree. Definitely, like Chantal said, with that shock value, it's there. And it was, again, I was kind of smiling too at all of his little antics, and it very much did kind of give like a, Charlie Chaplin or Chapman.
Chaplin.
Okay. And then like Three Stooges kind of vibe almost.
I can see that.
With some of his like
body humor. And
that he would do in his mime training. But yeah, and it definitely does give evil Mr. Bean, especially with his hand motions, because Mr. Bean always has those like, and he'll wave like that too and stuff. So, and Mr. Bean, always kind of creeped me out as well. So that probably helped me be creeped out by this film. But yeah, I thought it was an enjoyable ride. Andrew was like, "I do not like this." And I was like, "I thought it was pretty good." He was like, "There's no point." And I was like, "The point was for him to kill."
Yeah.
And that was it.
I can see, though, it's not everybody's cup of tea, and it won't be.
Yeah. It's definitely probably not for everyone.
Very torture porn as well. Like, quite literally.
Yes.
Like, especially with Dawn.
Yes. That's going to be scarred into my memory now for the rest of forever. Don't fuck with the eyeballs and don't fuck with
the vagine.
And he did that we got eyes getting gouged out and stabbed and lots of things in this movie.
Just leaves me excited to see how the other movies go, how creative they get with those kills.
Yeah. Because like topping this, that's going to be hard. He really came out the gate real strong making this film. And
well, we have a 2 and a 3, so
gotta see.
And at some point we'll cover those.
Yeah.
Because this was really good.
Yeah, it was good. Good pick, Chantal.
Thank you.
We liked it. It was a fun ride.
It really was.
A wild ride. But yeah, it was fun.
And once again, we're in the Rogue Media studio, which is always fun. We love being here. And they take such good care of us. And you can listen to our podcast and other podcasts on their website at roguemedianetwork.com.
That's right. And if you want to listen to us or any of those other podcasts, you can do so on a slew of podcasting platforms, but the biggest two would be
Spotify
and also Apple. But wherever you do listen, don't forget to
rate, review, like, and subscribe.
That's right, because that's the only way we can get ahead in this world. And if you want to let us know your thoughts on Terrifier, if you're going to be first in line, or if you were first in line to see Terrifier 3, and if you want us to cover Terrifier 2 and 3 in the future, you can let us know. The next film we'll be covering will be another listener request, so make sure that it might take us a long time to get to them. Yeah. Like Chantal suggested Terrifier, I don't know, probably like a year ago. And she's been so patient and so great to still listen to us, even though we didn't get around to her movie until now.
That's just so we ensure that you listen for a full year.
Yeah, that's how we get you in. Because one day we'll do your request. We'll cover your request.
But you know when, so you got to make sure you keep listening to them.
Yeah, and well, you will know whenever I message you asking for your BooBae rating. Yeah, your Boo rating. But yeah, reach out to us. Let us know your requests on our one social media platform, and that is Instagram, and that is
at BooBaes Podcast, and that's at BOOBA. At BAA.
You were right.
I was right. Yeah. I don't know why I psyched myself out. I was already in my head telling myself, "Don't mess it up today. Start over. Start over. I want to do it again."
Okay. And if you want to let us know your thoughts on I forgot. I almost said on Instagram.
I messed up the flow. No, it's okay. That's at Instagram.
Reach out to us on Instagram to let us know your thoughts on any movies, and if you want us to cover a particular movie, you can do that all on our Instagram, and that is
at BooBaes Podcast, and that's at BOOBAES Podcast. I can't. I'm sorry.
And that's at BOOBAES Podcast.
Because we're your BooBaes, not your BooBabes. Okay, there we go.
And yes, so let us know. We always respond.
Yeah.
We're nice.
Genuinely.
Yeah, we always respond to y'all. So
just talk to us.
Talk to us. Let us know. It's fun to talk to y'all and read your thoughts.
Especially over the movies that we're covering and over movies that y'all want us to, and some movies that like this. I probably would have been a while longer for us to watch unless it wouldn't have got recommended to us by Chantal. So,
yeah. Yeah.
Because I wasn't really going out of my way to watch it, to be honest, even though I've seen so many things about it. And honestly, I will say, I think I kind of played it off as it's cheesy. Probably going to be cheesy or campy and silly, so I probably won't like it. But I loved it.
Yeah, I thought it was really great. Yeah, I definitely thought whenever I looked up the picture and realized who it was, I was like, I don't know if I want to do this. And then watching it, I was like, oh wait, no, this was really good.
So glad.
So so glad that we got to experience this world of Terrifier. It was really good. So thank you again, Chantal. And thank you guys so much for listening. We really appreciate it. We couldn't do this without y'all. And yeah, for real, make sure if you haven't rated or reviewed us, please do so. And then it's spooky season, so tell your friends who are watching horror movies, and word of mouth really helps us get out there. And just
telling your friends, tell people that you meet, and they're like, "Oh, I like scary movies too. Oh, you know what? I listen to this podcast." Yeah,
tell everyone. I told some random person in the store the other day. They bought one of our Scream stickers.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it said, "Don't call me, babe."
Yeah.
And It was the last one. But I was like, oh, yeah, I have a horror movie podcast. And I was telling them about it. And then we talked about Smile because he was like, that's the last film that legitimately, like, scared me. And I was like, oh, yeah. I was like, I remember I had some qualms with Smile. But
you didn't like it.
I was like, but it was still a genuinely, like, scary movie. So, but I was like, if I shit on it, I'm so sorry. I was also like, really high.
Oh, yeah.
I went to the CBD
Oh, that
shop.
day that you were talking to them.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So who knows what I said.
It's okay.
And I went to the CBD shop down the road, and I thought it was like CBD, so I thought it wasn't going to affect me, but I guess it was like real THC stuff, and it was like 20 milligrams, and I don't ever really smoke, and I was like on my ass at work.
It's okay. It happens. It's a good thing you're the boss.
I'm the boss. Yeah. I was, but it was really bad. Anyways, don't do drugs.
Don't do drugs, kids.
Don't do drugs. It was bad.
And so that's really cool though. Like I too, I'm always like bumping into people and they're like, oh yeah, I got a horror movie. Or people who have like, it's always a shirt. You know, someone will be wearing like a Ghostface shirt or like a Michael Myers shirt or something. And I'm like, oh, I like your shirt. And then I'm like, oh yeah. So
I've stopped many of people's. There's
like
someone,
a hat or a shirt or something. Yeah.
Yeah, there's someone at a pizza shop that I was at recently, fitting for this movie. That I was like, oh, he was wearing a like Friday the 13th shirt or something, and I was like, please listen to my podcast. And I don't know if he ever did, but I wrote it down for him. So if you're listening, shout out Chenzo's.
And also
really good pizza.
If you're not following us on Instagram, please follow us because that just reminded me of we're trying to get merch and make merch. So we have some options there for y'all to vote on of what y'all would like.
Yeah, stuff. So far Deputy Daddy is winning as a t-shirt.
We also have Cunty Communion and our little tink tink with the little knife on it. But definitely if you don't follow us already, go follow us. And if you don't have an Instagram, make an Instagram specifically so you can go follow us and vote. Thank you.
Vote and then let us know your horror movie picks. BooBaes.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production. Are you a podcaster? Let's talk podcast hosting. Are you tired of your current podcast host? Need real support in a community that gets it? At Rogue Media Network, we offer top-tier podcast hosting services to help you thrive. From hosting and distribution to dedicated support, we've got you covered. Starting as low as $25 a month. Join our community of passionate podcasters today. Contact us at hello@roguemedianetwork.com.